Fuck me. Alright. Let's do this. I want the music to be even louder though. For me, but not for you. Oh. Fuck. Fucking. Yeah. Okay, maybe it's too loud. So what was I doing? We're still... Oh yeah, it's the fucking bug. It's the fucking bug, man. I have to fix the bug. Oh, I don't even know how to. Because it's not so easy. That's the thing, right? It kind of is, but it also... I'm not so sure if it is. Because if I... The problem here is that we have a floating point issue. Like, it's rounded incorrectly, so whenever I get to a set point, which might be like 380, that ends up being 379.9999999, you know. You know the drill. And what I could do is I could just make a function that creates like a threshold for rounding. There might be another solution. I don't know if it would be a solution. But we can try. We can try my other solution before we do anything else. But the issue I was thinking of was like just rounding the number. I feel can at times change the value. Probably not in a way that matters, but it's one of those things where I can't foresee the practical implication of it, but it could like change how moving feels. It could like cause it to jerk randomly in, you know, rarely or whatever, but it would feel jank. Maybe. I kind of doubt it would, because it would just chop off like a very tiny, tiny fraction of a float. However, what we're gonna try first before anything else. Oh fuck, it's a vector, dude. Oh man. Fuck. Yeah, I was wondering if doubles could work instead. Avoid subtraction of similar numbers. Nah, I don't think there's really a solution. You have to just write some kind of... So how do we do that? So how do we do this? It's gonna have to be something like... Hosting pitch. Good morning, okay. I wasn't calling you a stink bitch, okay, but you're probably pretty stinky. You're from Brazil. I'm trying to fix a rounding issue I have. Brazilians are known for showering especially often. Why? Because you're stinky. It's hot here. And that's why you're stinky. um... Right, I need a decimal here. Float decimal equals. No, don't. What the fuck? Okay, you can't call it a decimal because that's a type apparently. What's OKEB up to today? What do I call this? I'm just gonna call it B. Nothing? Well, okay. Very interesting. Very interesting answer. So the decimal is 1F divided by decimals. No, divided by 10 times 10 times decimals? Am I stupid? Oh, what? It needs to be it needs to be POW. Math F dot POW. Decimals. Right, because then if we say decimals is 1, then it's gonna be 10 to the power of 1, and that's 10. And if we have 2 decimals, then it's 10 to the power of 2, that's 10 times 10, and that's 100. At 3 decimals, that's 10 to the power of 3, that's 10 times 10 times 10. That's gonna be 1,000. So yeah, that's gonna be correct. But if if decimals is less than 1F, then we return input. Error. Rounding to 0 decimals. No, attempting to round to 0 decimals. Yeah. So again, the issue I'm having is that when I move a character around, I do that using delta timing, which means that if I move it 1, that gets turned into an amount of decimals that represent 1/1 second. And later on, when I reach the desired position, sometimes the position isn't an exact value, even though it should be. Even though I'm pretty sure I set it to that exact value at the end, it sometimes still ends up being 179.9999999 instead of what it should be. So I have to write a rounding error catching function. Jesus. I have to think. So let's say I'm doing abs and round there. So if I have a value that's I feel like the rounding, I don't know if it matters. If we have a value that's 7.9999999 here, then that gets, well, let's say it's minus just to make it complicated. Then I'm doing abs, which changes it to 7.99999. And then we do minus abs 79999 and then round, which changes it to 8. And that's going to end up being minus 0.000001 or whatever, right? I think it might be 00 like this. I think that's how big it printed. I don't think you need to do absing here. So what's, or maybe you do, like if you have a negative value, 7.9999999, and then make it negative minus 8 negative. Okay, never mind. You can subtract like that. Okay, in that case, we don't need to abs here. We need to abs the result of this. And then we have x. So if x is 0.0001, then we want to round it. So if x is less than or equal to 1f divided by decimals, then we say I don't think you can. You can directly set that. Then we round x. I think this should be right. And this doesn't need to be x, this needs to be value, maybe. And then here we say input y. And here it's input dot z. And then we just return input. I shouldn't. No, we don't need to do this either. D. This should just be if it's less than D, because we've already done the division once. Right? Like it's 1f divided by nf to the power of decimals. And then we're returning input. But it is bitching. Oh. Because it's not static. And then we go back here. Internal position equals value. But then we have to fix the value. And let's try a decimal value of 3 maybe. It doesn't even need to be that big, but before we test it, I'll be right back. Okay. Let's check this again. It seems right. Let's see if it does anything. And now, the unfortunate reality is that this is one of those errors that happen like every 40 moves. So now the question is it fixed? Or does it happen every 400 moves now? Who knows? Oh, well, that didn't work. Oh yeah, makes sense. We need to round the input, not the value. Let's change the name of the value to rounding decimal decimal check. I guess having it called value is a little confusing. The value is usually something you want to return. Now we have two characters there. Wonder if this error is still around. Yeah, this is still a problem. I'm not really sure what causes that. You can see when I tell this character to move, his starting area is this square here. But for some reason, the initial pathfinding that checks where he can move says that he can move on this top left corner of this area here. And that's weird because it implies that it's like always saying that the first tile that it checks is like correct or something. But that's not true either. Because if I go down here, it's true for Ria down there. But for the Spearman, it's not true to the top left. So it's only true down and to the right. And it's only true in the top left corner of the character too, for some reason. What happens if we stand here? What happens if we stand here? So it's only... No, I don't know. It's only down that's bugged? What happens if it's the corner of a building? Actually, I don't know if you can see. But we can try. No, it doesn't render. In combat, the characters aren't properly implemented with the building system yet, it seems. So I can't see. Oh well. The position bug seems to be resolved though. I'm gonna move a little bit more. Because here, for example, it is occurring. And I don't really know why. I know it's doing the found target thing. Because its Z isn't changing or anything. But for whatever reason, if you look at her feet, her foot is below the pavement. Oh, that's loud. Which is obviously not correct. And I don't really know why that would be happening. I'm just thinking what might be the cause of that and how to fix it. Because it does get fixed when I press end turn. So there's something between finalizing the turn and not that makes it wrong. So the question is, what would that be? It's probably partially the same thing that makes the camera snap when I click end turn. But it's also weird because position should be right. So here, let's say debug.log current position current turn.unit.combat module no unit dot kernel position raw no we want modified position movement modifier current turn.unit.movement preview modifier raw. Because I question the values here. It's like it's moving down into the ground randomly. Current position 9653 minus 2. Yeah, why would it be at minus 2? Minus 2. Minus 2. Minus 2. Why is it at minus 2? Where's that coming from? As you can see here, like internal position here is 0. We could try printing modified position here right away. Current position -2. And this is the entire movement distance. It's not moving to -2. So where's the -2 coming from? Internal position, value, modified position. Let's try that. See here, modified position is it's set to -2 immediately. Why is that? Internal position, internal offset position. This is gonna suck. No, let's do it like this. Like that. And then we do that. And then we again just copy them in here. That was a good solution. Internal offset position is -2. Oh, it's the data module size. Yeah, that doesn't work. This needs to be 3 int. Uh... There. So what was happening was I have a size value for the object, and the size value was being used. This is the wrong size value as well. Apparently, subtractions can cause float like rounding issues, which has me a little scared. But let's just deal with that at some point if it becomes an issue. So we have a modified position raw, which uses internal position like that. But the internal offset position uses the modified position I kind of want to name it something else. It's like offset position. It tells me that I am using an offset, but it doesn't tell me which offset. If I name it like free, maybe I might remember. Because the internal offset position, if that is using the data module dot size, that's the size the object is meant to have in free move mode. So that doesn't make sense. And that might explain some things. So modified position raw just uses internal position. And that's just a floored version of internal position raw. Which we can do fix rounding error on. Set it to 3F. I don't like doing that every time though. So now what we need to do is we need to find all references for modified position raw or modified position free. And here we immediately have a problem, because the camera follows the target. That shouldn't be right either way. But the camera follow is an old script. However, we can go and find it right away, because we have a target point here. No, that's not that. Camera target equals modified position free. This should be internal position raw. And now, unfortunately, I have like 100 million things here. Check collision is apparently not used. Which is weird. Sure. Yeah, it isn't actually, because I haven't re-implemented the ability to move the character. And here, this is where we check for active, rect size. Yeah, sure. But here, like dual scene base here, midpoint. This should then be modified position raw. Because this is for combat. Camera update. That's already been adjusted. Object combat module. Damage pop-up and queue. Man, that's difficult. But it should be raw, because that's a damage pop-up. The rest are in the object. This is the log. This is where we're setting the position. Update sorting order index. This one is also a little sus. I wonder if I might need another set position. Set position and set position tile. So that's not really the case either. It's like set position or set position combat. Either way, I don't know if I fixed or ruined or broken anything. Let's give it a try. Internal offset position -5. Oh yeah, I made it even worse. So it's supposed to be... This is 0. And now we don't seem to be having an issue. The camera, though, is not following the target now. Ooh. Oh, why is this so complicated? It's just movement. Oh my god. So the issue is that the position, the internal position of the object is just the center, right? That's the center of the object. So whenever I need to find an edge for the character, I need to subtract half of the object's size from that. And that's the bottom left corner. But the issue with that is that in free roam mode, the character needs to be smaller. So it needs to have two sizes. It needs to have an internal size for free movement and one for combat. Because if you use the same size as we use in combat, that's going to be the exact same size or width as like a doorway. And that makes entering a door a pain in the ass because there's no leeway. And the issue I'm coming across now is I need to track the object with the camera. And in free roam, that works just fine because there's nothing going on in free roam, right? Like it's literally just whatever. You just follow him or follow the object with the camera. But in combat, it's a lot more complicated because as I move a character with the move command, that's actually like a temporary movement. And because of that, that has its own variable that I'm then adding. Like I'm fetching a getter called modified position, and that fetches the unaltered internal position value, and then it adds the movement preview modifier value to that. And using that, I then calculate where the object is. And it also has a lot of other things. It's got a dual scene position modifier, combat position modifier, misc position modifier, hit shake modifier. So like everything that modifies the object's position is included in this modified position getter without altering the original value. So that way, when I need to like return an object to where it's like in memory, I just use the internal position instead. Pretty much. But what's happening is that what is happening? When I'm fetching internal position here, that's just the internal position. Modified position raw, that doesn't include any offset. While modified position free has the internal offset position. Does it need that? Fuck. I need so many things. I need to keep track of the position we are at, like tile wise. I need to keep track of the position we are at pixel wise. I need to keep track of position that we're at float wise. I need to keep track of the position we're at tile wise in the bottom left. Oh my god, there's just so many things. Oh, fuck. Because the raw internal position or the float values, I'm just gonna delete that, I don't need an answer. The float values, I need to keep track of those because you shouldn't be moving a character using integers. It's not a good idea. Because the difference between 1 and 2, speed-wise, is double. So you get very, very little precision when it comes to low speed. So your only choices are, am I going to move a character 1 pixel per second or 1 pixel per update, or like you're going to have to make some kind of weird like delay, or skip moving this turn, and blah 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 blah, or skip moving this update kind of solution. So that's why you need a raw float based internal position, so that you can use delta time to move your character by decimal values every update. And then when that decimal shifts into a full value, that's when you know, okay, now we've moved the character 1 pixel. And that's where you have a raw value and you have a non-raw value. So the raw value is float, and the non-raw is just the float floored to an integer. It would probably be easier to round it, potentially. You might end up with the same function in practice. I just don't like it when a character is not actually at that index, but then it appears like it. Because that could lead to other issues, like it counting as you being inside of a door before you are, or, minor things that might be weird. But so yeah, I need that. And then at the same time, I also need to convert this value that we're setting into a tile value. And the reason for that is because the world is tile-based, or it's actually cubes. Like it's Minecraft, they work like cubes. They have width, height, and depth. So it's not actually a 2D game, it's a 3D game. A 3D game world. So whenever I step into a new tile, that's when we need to check things. We need to check, did I enter a building or whatever? And if I did, then does that building need to be turned transparent to show where we are? So every time I change the position at all, really, I need to check if the tile is still the same. Now in reality, I could do that every time the float switches over to a new integer value, but the thing with that is that it's like the same. Like, I might as well make the float to tile calculation instead of doing that, because that's still like I have to floor the value, compare it with another value, and then see, am I gonna do something now? And at that point, I've probably done more work than just dividing it by the tile size. Even if it's every update, which sucks, but... I don't know how fast a modulo is. Like, maybe a modulo could be good. Nah, that wouldn't work either. Whatever. Fuck it. So I need to calculate that. And then I need, in combat, the internal position is still like the core of where the object is. So the internal position is setting which tile the object is on. But at the same time, we need that's going to be the center. So if an object is 2 times 2 tiles large, the center is actually the top right. Because I have to either add or subtract from the position. And if I subtract, then the internal position is the center. And then I can just target the camera at the internal position and it will just work. But I also need to know where the bottom left corner is in tile mode. Maybe I should specifically make a getter for the bottom left tile. It's like I have internal position raw, tile position raw. Modified tile position, and this here we are doing that. Or what if we say public vector 3 int modified tile position corner. Modified tile lower corner position. And that's this. Why is this shocking complaining? I didn't get the last thing there, I guess. And then this tile position here is just this. Modified tile center position. And modified position raw, that is the internal position. And then here, what we can do is we can get modified tile center position. And then we do it like that.
Wow, 108 references? Oh, that's so cool! I get to go through 108 references? Hell yeah, boy!
I think that should be bottom left. Origin location. Object script dot modified tile center position. Yeah. So this should be modified lower corner position. And then that means this the lower corner position. And this is one of those things, like if this is wrong, this might end up sucking gigantic balls. I might have to go back and change all of it again. But I think almost everything here should be changed. This doesn't like super matter, to be honest. Because here we're just checking center point to center point. It does matter. Because I'm checking lower corner. It's AABB testing, so it's lower corner versus lower corner plus size to see if we're inside of the bounds. So it does matter a lot. This is definitely a... find and replace scenario, but I don't like using it for the most part. Yeah, that's correct. This is why I don't like doing find and replace for the most part. Especially not across like whole files. Because here, for example, this is the tile bounds, and here I wanted to make sure, like, if I do have a data module, which honestly every object does have a data module, so it doesn't really matter. But if it's not null, then we set it to the lower tile corner position. Else we set it to the center position, which is just... no, it's not based on anything. Doesn't matter that much though. Check if tile in world. See, this is where things get a little tricky. Because this here, this only makes sense within a free movement point of view. Because if this was a tile-based system, then... because what's happening now is every time I move, every time I set the position, we're checking the tile, and if the tile exists in the world, then we have to make changes. We have to like check if the shadow should be rendered somewhere else. We have to check, you know, our relation to light and stuff. We also have to check if I'm inside or behind the building and whatnot. And when you're doing that in free move, there's a question of, should this only be when we step foot on like our central tile? And I think that's yes. We should count as being on a central tile only. That way we avoid checking like 4 tiles all the time. And like, even if an object is like 3x3 or 4x4, I think that's still fine. Like, half the object has to pass behind a building for the building to fade. And we're not going to control a 4x4 object anyway, so it doesn't matter. While we're in combat though, we would check all of the tiles. Then it's done once when the object finishes moving, more or less. And either way, there are like no calculations happening. So we can just do it whenever we want. It doesn't matter. It's just partially to avoid doing like 4 times as many checks for every single NPC that's moving. That position needs to handle tree move and tile move differently. Boolean question mark? Add Boolean question mark? Because that would mean that I won't have to... I won't have to make an entirely new function. That way we can do full combat mode equals false. Right, we can deal with that later. Check collision. That needs to be lower corner precision for sure. Check if tile in world, that one is... That is correct. So this is gonna be if combat mode is false, then we're going to do that. Else, here it's a little bit different, and I think I'm going to make an entirely new LOTF function for it. Because what I need to do is, it needs to be a for loop, and it needs to check every tile. I need to go to the bathroom. Ooh. Okay, now it's all fucked because I added a bunch of. This is wrong now. So let's see. Find all references. Or maybe not. I'm not sure. No, I think. This will have to be expanded on a little bit too, I think. Because here I'm checking the area index for the position for the object when it comes to light mode or light sources. And shadows. This needs to run in a lot of new scenarios. For example, right now, the shadow buffer, this doesn't get set to update when I am moving in combat. And that's because the combat movement is handled through only adjusting the movement preview modifier variable. And that means that this doesn't happen. None of these things here are triggered. And that's why when we're moving around, when I move too far, it moves into another area index area, an area index area. And the index is used to determine if there are objects there that need to have their shadows rendered. So if we move into the wrong area, or we move out of our designated area into another area, then we don't exist anymore. So that the object needs to be moved over into that index. Not happening right now. Add modifiers to handle, or rather, modify function to work in combat mode. And check environment. Same thing here. Modify to work in combat mode. fucked. And this is the same thing. Fix all environmental checks to work in combat. Initialize. Vector 3 tile position. Yeah, sure. And now we're in pathfinding. This should be lower corner position. Look godlike. Making a turn-based RPG here. And right now I'm just trying to fix some things. Yeah, something like that. This is more or less correct right now. Movement grid origins. Should probably be like that. Alright, let's see if things are like the same or if I've broken half of the game now. That seems to work. Seems okay. This is still bugged. I don't really understand why that is bugged, though. I feel like that should be tied to that. It's like the drawing of the static grid is like incorrectly. It's like treating Rhea as being in the incorrect position or something. Because it only does it in one direction. We'll have to look at the static grid. This seems to work. The camera is not working though. Let's see. Camera update. So the camera target here is internal position raw. This should be modified position raw. I think. Let's try that. Yeah, now it works again. Obviously, the camera needs to have some kind of lerp to it. I think. But it's not always superior to smooth the camera. And right now, the movement is not working the way it should, so... Because camera smoothing can just make the camera feel sluggish and weird. Okay, that's weird. That's super weird. I mean, that shouldn't, even in the current scenario, that shouldn't happen. Modified tile center position. Modified position raw. Yeah? This should be right. So then we do check movement related changes. Modified tile center position. Check environment. Then we do check structure. New position tile equals modified tile center position. I can only think of one thing. That shouldn't happen. Yeah, okay. So finalize movement. Here's what's happening. Movement preview modifier is being set to 0 after set position. Because I'm trying to like combine these two values. And what's happening is that we are adding movement preview modifier raw to internal position raw and then setting position. But then set position is also making checks that call modified position, which contains movement preview modifier raw. So it's being double dipped. So what we need to do is we need to cache it. So we need to say vector 3 tempvec equals movement preview modifier raw. Movement preview modifier raw equals vex 0, and then tempvec goes there. That's been bugged for a hell of a while. It's time for a little break, though. Let's see what this does. That also explains why it didn't update the buildings, like when I went behind them. It doesn't explain it now. Actually, it does. It does explain it, because it's a bit bugged. When you load a map, you have to click auto check rooms. And then we enter combat mode. Now that works. It is a little jarring. The roof disappears instantly. It's not supposed to. And see, now it fades. But this is also, you see now why it should fade on the entire sprite. Like, when you're in combat, it matters more. Because now it's like, okay, I can't step 1 foot behind the building and have it fade. That's a little weird. And also, it should be even more so than that. It's gonna be a little bit tricky to get this to feel right, because the building, like over here, how do I handle vision here? Like, what if there's a baddie standing behind here? Do I just make him have an outline? That's one solution. But the next issue after that then is like, what if there's debris back here? Like, what if there's a barrel or some shit? And now it's not even working here for some reason. So for some reason, this wall doesn't want to hide. Oh well, whatever. And now this is bugged. Yeah. Combat mode has some issues with this. It's not working quite right. Because when you walk around normally, it exits the building and that's when it happens. But here, it's like you're teleporting. So the whole building thing, it's gonna need a lot more work. But it is semi-fixed now. We just need to expand on the function right now. But yeah. I'm gonna go for a little jog. I'll be back in 20 minutes or so. 30 minutes, I'm not sure. I'll be right back. Ooh. We're back. Okay. You think it's possible to think after running? Oh. Okay, fuck. You shouldn't have to do this. Should never be needed there. Unless you can get a rounding error just from reading something. But I don't think that should be true. Or a float precision error. But even if that was true, then rounding it and sending it back should also not be safe. Sure. There, and then check movement related changes. I don't know if this is really needed, but we can keep that. And then here, this is where things become a little bit of an issue. It's not as simple as just running the check. Because I can do check structures here, right? But here we're using the modified tile center position. But I wonder if this is where, like, instead of doing this here, maybe the check here is where I should do this. Like, maybe we just do like combat mode, yes, here. And then we loop this. And the reason for that is because it needs a lot of rewrite, unfortunately. Because what can't happen is that, let's say this is the building. Right? And I have a character standing here. What can't happen is that if I exit like that each of these tiles run individually. So down here, it's gonna be like, yep, we've exited from the building, delete this unit from this building's list of units, and do everything that needs to, you know, do everything revolving that. And then we check this tile here, and this tile is like, yeah, no, we're not in this building. And then this tile here is like, oh, we've entered the building. We had to redo all of these things to enter the building. You know, it can't be like that. We can't check each individual tile here. We have to check all of the tiles to see if they are in any of these buildings whenever I make a check here. And here I'm fetching a building ID. Can you compare against a list? Oh. Oh. Now here, I am actually kind of doing this already here. Check if lists are equal. Oh. This is gonna take a whole day to fix. The way it works right now is it only does it only checks one tile. So when I walk around, when I walk inside of a building, it checks the tile there. And the tile The tile contains a list of which rooms and buildings it belongs to. And unfortunately, a tile can belong to multiple rooms, which sucks. But basically, like, this wall here needs to, if this house looks like this, and we say that this is like a door in, this wall here needs to belong to this room and to this room. So anything that's like between two rooms contains to both rooms. But what this means is that I'm gonna have to rewrite it, because right now a character can be standing in one building, but he can be standing in multiple rooms. So it needs to be remade so you can stand in multiple buildings as well. And the reason for that is, like, what if for whatever reason this is a large building that leads into another building? I could just set them to be the same building, but what if, for like rendering purposes or whatever, they need to be two different buildings? In that case, It would just be easier if you could stand in 2 different buildings. At the same time. So that's what we need to do. And here, new post tile. Where does that even come from? Here, in the beginning of check structures, new post tile is fetched. So new position tile, this actually needs to be a list of tiles. New position tile list. New list. Hoo, hoo, hoo. I want candy. I wish there was a blank Discord screen. I should just make a server. There. Empty server. Thank you. There we go. Empty thing to have up on Discord. I hate it. Keeps flickering all the time. Because somebody logs in, somebody logs out. Somebody starts listening to Kanye West instead of fucking Maroon 5. This is initialize. Now the problem here I guess we can just do this. In controller dot mode game mode equals combat mode game mode dot combat, then true else false. Right? And that way, I should just have to... This shouldn't have to be done here. Behind building, current building. This should all be done in set position. And we can say tile position raw equals new vector 3 int -1 -1 -1. This is where it's being set, right? So what we need to do here is we need to do if combat mode, then list of bytes previous files. Fuck. Brain. It doesn't even actually need to contain the tiles. It just needs to contain a vector 3 int. Come on, man. Oh, right. It's because it says it's this tile there. There we go. Is there no, like... You have back, down, 0. You have 1, but you don't have -1. I wish you had -1. Negative infinity. That sounds like dog shit. Nope. No shorthand. I use -1 because 0 is a real value. So it would be nice. Like I could just use left because that would be outside of the bounds. Also, I don't really need. It doesn't really matter there. So what we're gonna say here is tile to add dot set modified position lower corner position of x plus x I think that might be it, actually. And then here we need to check if tile to add dot x. No, we just do LOTF dot check if tile in world Z offset false. Oh. No, it should be true. I think. But yeah, if it exists in world, then current tiles dot add tile to add. And with that, we can say current rooms for current tiles dot count. Here we're gonna just go through all of it in one pop. If current rooms dot contains false, tile matrix main controller dot tile matrix current tiles vector 3 int current tile to check. Tile to check equals current tiles high. And then we do tile to check dot x, tile to check dot y, tile to check dot z. Dot room like that. Room number, building number, floor number. What else? Building, floor, room. There is a roof ID too, but I don't think this is necessary. I don't think there is anything more really. Building, floor, room. Yeah. There is behind. But that's not being stored inside of an object. Actually, it is being stored here. Behind building number. Fine. This is a little much for me today. This is gonna suck. But I have to do something like bool. Because I have to do a for loop check now. For every if there needs to be a for loop, which is annoying. Especially considering that there's this much shit in here. I'm so unfocused. Yeah, see, buildings contain the object. So that's what we need to do here. I need to check if any of the tiles contain this building ID. And then we need to make sure that we add that. I think that's it. I think I'm gonna go eat food. Yeah. I'm stuck. I'm just thinking about something completely different. But yeah, this needs to be reworked to always work with lists. Like in free roam mode, the ideal scenario is that we only work with one tile at a time, because that's gonna make everything run much smoother. So unless something specifically needs to be larger in free roam mode, it's just going to be using its central tile as where it is, like which building it's in, which building is behind, all of these things. And then in combat, we'll just add more buildings and more, like all of them to the lists, and it'll just work. Like even, I think floors, you'll very, very rarely be standing on 2 floors at the same time. But maybe, and in that case, then you can, right? But otherwise, even if it's just 1 floor in the list, it'll work. So yeah. Now, some of this logic might need to be implemented in height as well. But that will be later. I'm not doing that now. But yeah, that'll be that. Until next time, thanks for hanging.